Hello, I'm Wendy. Today we're looking at the watercolour technique pen and wash. I'm demonstrating a crocus painting and I'm working in a very loose and intuitive style. It's the beginning of March and where I'm living we've got lots of crocuses out at the moment. We've got all different colours. I do like the white and the yellow ones, they're really pretty, but my favourite are the purple. I think the purple and the orange just go so well together with some nice greens. And so this is the colour scheme that I've chosen for the crocuses. And I've worked out a little design from some of my own photographs. You can download the drawing. It will be in the description box below the video. There'll be a link there. You can also download this sheet of colour swatches if you want, if you're a bit hesitant about mixing up some of these colours. The pinky purples and purples I used you can see on the top row. You could use cobalt violet as a first coat. It's quite an expensive colour and I find mauve is very, very similar. The mauve is made by Cotman. It's not as expensive and it does go further than the cobalt violet, but you've got the two options there. I do like dioxazine purple. It's also called dioxazine violet. It's a very good mixer and it's nice on its own, and for the darker purples on the flowers I've mixed it with ultramarine. I have, I think, in a few places maybe added a touch of burnt sienna to get it a bit darker and maybe knock it back a bit. But if you experiment with these colours, then I think you'll be happy with them and you'll find some of those purples and pinks that you're seeing in the crocuses. It's not critical because the light on the crocus flowers is going to change the colour anyway. So don't try and match it exactly because you won't do that. It's very, very difficult. If you follow my channel and have seen some of my videos, then you know I'm very fond of Prussian blue as a blue for the base for greens. And there's a link below in the description box to a video where I've used that and you can see how I use it in mixers. I'm ringing the changes a bit this time. I'm using sap green, which is a nice spring green. It's a tube green, but it's a lovely tube green and it's a good mixer. And you can see on the bottom row some ideas you can use. You can put some raw sienna or yellow ochre with the sap green to warm it up. Cobalt blue is a good blue to darken these greens. And you can also add a little bit of burnt sienna again to warm it up. I sometimes add a little bit of the dioxazine violet to darken the greens as well. The next part of the video demonstrates how I worked this painting. I used watercolour first and then I used a pen. There's a link to the pens that I use in the description box below. I find I can be quite free with putting the watercolour on first, because normally if you're not using a pen you're going to separate all the petals by tone and by colour. You still want to do that and bear that in mind, but because you're putting the pen on afterwards, you can separate them and add more detail with your pen. I wasn't too careful with the pen marks. I didn't want to outline very carefully. It all depends on your style. I like to keep the outlining quite loose and use some expressive strokes. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I painted it quite intuitively and just let it go where it took me basically. And I quite liked having some of those lines, those expressive lines here and there, just to give it a bit more energy and make it a bit more interesting. It's all down to style. Use the techniques and I hope the video helps you, and then put your own stamp on it and your own style. You may notice at the very end that I did use a little bit of white gouache just in the centre of the flower there to make the stamens a little bit lighter in places. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed painting this. I'm going to do some more. I like doing pen and wash. I find it quite freeing, and I do work very quickly. The demonstration was twice the speed that I painted at, but it really didn't take me that long at all. It's always interesting to see people's interpretations and approach to painting when they've watched my video, and it's really interesting to see the results, so do please post them. There is a link to my Facebook subscribers group in the description box below. Do subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss anything coming up in the future. Subscription is free. Till next time, bye for now and happy painting.